table. Check these players out as we get into round number 8, big round for both of these players. Again, James Arnold will be on that Charizard VMAX deck paired with Arceus, everybody's favorite friend we've seen plenty of today. And we haven't really gotten a chance to check out the lists here for our other player, for our opponent. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we get everything included at this point. We know James Arnold is playing Charizard. As for the opponent, we're pulling everything up. We're getting the lists up. And it looks like it is going to be Simone Trottier. And this player is playing, it looks like, we're getting everything rolled up. But I want to talk a little bit more about Charizard, because Charizard is very solid. Charizard is a card that deals a lot of damage, but the one weakness that jumps out at me right away is the fact that it is a Pokemon that needs several turns to power up. You have some cards to assist it, but really when you throw that energy onto the Charizard, usually turn 2 with Trinity Nova, if you can't get it evolved, it can be scary to have a Pokemon that is so valuable with so many resources on it. And before I forget here as we get into this, Simon is playing this interesting deck that popped up at a European regional event. It was either a regional or special event, my memory's not serving me well. It's this sort of dark box deck, similar to the Rapid Strike deck, not similar. It plays no Urshifu. As we look at the prizes here, we're kind of jumping through everything. These players are ready to go. 2 Arceus V-Star in the prize cards, and 2 Sobble there for Simone.
Ooh, a lot of important pieces in the prizes. This could get muddy. The players are going to search through their decks as quickly as they can, maybe with that first quick ball, and then take stock and see what's missing. And we've seen some players get really tilted. If their important pieces are right in the prize cards, they're going to immediately scoop, save all of that time going into, the next game and even game 3. But this list from Simon is the definition of a toolbox. It's got so many different ways to approach the game, attack the opponent, making use of a lot of different utility pieces and types. You're going to hit weakness somewhere, I swear.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you open that Galarian Zapdos, as it looks like we are getting ready to kick things off as we get into our first match. Looks like just debating what's happening with our start, but I want to talk about Simon's list a little bit more. The interesting thing is this list is very similar to what we saw a player by the name of, you may know him, Stefan Ivanov, a 2-time back-to-back international champion, played a special event to get top 16, or a regional special event, and it plays a lot of these engine cards like Birdkeeper to allow this Rowlet to attack. It has the ability that allows it, when you play Birdkeeper, to attack and use it, and its attack cost is free. It is 0 essentially, and it has an attack called Windshard that hits on the bench 60 damage to any benched Pokemon. Very solid card. We'll have to see how relevant it is in this matchup, because as we look at the list here for James, James is not running any of these draw or support engines like B-Barrel or Inteleon, just relying off of the raw power of some of our support basic V Pokemon like Crobat V, like Lumineon to grab Pokemon or grab supporters out of the deck. But James is getting right into this. Exactly what you want to see. The turn 1 attachment to Arceus, the Charizard down. This is standard stuff that we see for Arceus.
Once you get set up, like, you're off to the races. The ability for Arceus V to get that Trinity Charge or Trinity Nova off and then immediately set up the next attacker. If your opponent's also trying to respond, get that knockout, you can immediately bring out your next attacking Pokemon with plenty of energy attached, ready to keep that momentum going. It turns a lot of matchups into just a slugfest. You're just cracking back and forth, and whoever can take those first prizes is going to be the one that wins.
Zapdos seems like a very scary card to be very wary of if you're James. The fact that there is no copies of something like Dunsparce with the Mysterious Nest to prevent weakness, but more so that this deck doesn't fill the bench up with non-rule box, non-V Pokemon. It's not filling the bench up with things like B-Barrel or Sobbles or Inteleons. It's utilizing a lot of Vs to get things done. And when you allow Zapdos to attack for a single fighting energy, you don't even need Raihan to power it up. It's going to be super important to note how James traverses around the Zapdos V.
The existence of Arceus basically single-handedly brought Galarian Zapdos V into the metagame. It's such a strong fighting type attacker, and again with that ability to get that deceleration of energy, so to speak, like that discount, get it into play, start kicking really hard. That's exactly what you need. Take those 2 prizes, take away your opponent's acceleration engine. If this Arceus V goes down before it has a chance to accelerate to the Charizard, these really expensive attacks that you talked about, Ethan, are just going to be way too slow.
And Simon's hand is not looking very solid. Has Boss's orders, considering just playing it on the Charizard to bring it up. It does have 3 retreats, so something like an air balloon would not get it out of the active, but I know that James came prepared with this deck, is playing multiple copies of Switch, 2 Switch and an Escape Rope, understands I have some heftier boys here. They're a little harder to move out with a simple balloon. I'm going to need the switching card itself to switch out. But this hand is looking very solid for James off the bat. Has the double turbo energy already, a research to draw some more cards. And Simon's start was not very solid. Was able to get the Zapdos down in energy, but something like a Choice Belt can just straight up take the knockout onto this Zapdos. And he's going to need to find an Arceus V-Star. We'll see if there is one in this hand. It looks like
I'm not seeing it.
There is an Evolution Incense that does have it. Wow.
Okay, goodness. Evolution Incense. So we're going to find the Arceus V-Star. We need to get it into the active as well so we can get that Trinity charge. And hopefully with the Starbirth, we can just find that, get the switch here.
So looking at the hand, already has switch. So this means it's one less piece you need to grab off of Starbirth. Almost certain we're going to see something like the Choice Belt get grabbed. Immediately fans it to the hand. Can grab another card, maybe the Charizard V Max to get that evolved already, to not have to worry about the Charizard taking damage. And we're already seeing that with this deck, you can put on aggression super quickly, super fast. We haven't even started to talk about this list. Still deciding what to look at. It looks like actually an Echoing Horn grab. Very interesting to see that card in a deck like this. Plays a lot of ways to gust for Boss's Orders. Understands, hey, I have cards like Luminion. To get that card specifically out of the deck, I want to draw into it naturally with things like Crobat, to just find it as I'm drawing through my deck, as I'm discarding pieces. And Magma Basin as well is a stadium that really allows this deck to function. It is maybe the most powerful stadium we've seen in a long time. I know me and Chip talk about this card a lot, about how solid and how good it is. But the ability to just accelerate energy from your discard pile as a stadium card, to not even use your supporter card return, is so powerful. Cannot understate that.
Yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to the next batch of fire decks that can make use of Magma Basin. And now Charizard is the first. It's laying the groundwork for the other fire-type decks to maybe take over. But fortunately, with the switch, with the Choice Belt attachment, now setting up for an attack to get the acceleration onto the Charizard V, and now with Echoing Horn in hand as well, you can get the knockout, then bring back a Pokemon and knock it out again with a Gust effect. James is already thinking several turns ahead.
Yeah, it looks like eyeing up a Ultra Ball, grabbed Crobat V off of the Quick Ball. So there is the big Charizard itself, that awesome Dynamax form. Looking pretty scary to me. I think you might be sweating a little bit here if you're Simon, thinking that is a heavy, heavy hitter. And even Claw Slash for 100. This deck plays a lot of lower HP Pokemon. It's trying to really swing the prize trade with these one-prize attackers, with Galarian Moltres, with things like Hoopa, with Assault Gate to deal some small damage to set up math for your Galarian Moltres V. 100 damage is not bad, and it's even better because Charizard does require you to discard energy with the second attack.
Yeah.
So just being able to hit with the heavy HP Pokemon while also not getting rid of your energies that you're going to be building up is a big deal.
With the way that Claw Slash works, 3 energy means that as long as you get a Trinity Nova off, it's free to use, you're good to go. And because the HP total is so high, you can tank one hit from an Arceus V-Star on the enemy side or whatever attacker they have, and then set up for another Claw Slash in return. Just deal 200 damage, and that clears a lot of early Pokemon V, again, with the Choice Belt and everything.
Absolutely. There we go. The first knockout. 2 prizes there for James. Trinity Nova, we've been saying it time and time again, and I'm sure for the next little while we'll be continuing to announce that attack. There's the energy on the Sobble. Training Court will bump the Magma Basin. James did utilize that the previous turn to get an extra energy onto the Charizard. Does force you to put 2 damage counters on it, but it is 100% worth the cost of getting an extra energy into play. As Energy Search as well, attaching for turn to the Sobble. Just thin the deck out a little bit. Nothing too crucial, it looks like. Prized does still have a few copies of the Drizziles in deck, which you're going to want to find after, and deciding to actually fail the Energy Search, not going to grab any cards. And I believe that last card in hand is that Cynthia's Ambition, and it's going to fill the hand up 1 other card. So we'll just save the Scoop Up Net. The Cynthia's Ambition will fill the hand up to 8. A great card in this 1 prize deck as just a 1-of. You can search it out with Drizzile, and it's perfect for when your Pokemon are pretty much getting knocked out every turn, if not every 2 out of 3 turns.
Beautiful. So now we're fully loaded. Simon has a ton of resources here, a ton of options, and we've, at the very least, got to get this bench filled up.
Yeah, Keep Calling is going to be a great way to do that. Can get those Sobbles in place. Sonia as well for the following turn. Has a few options, but it looks like no immediate Drizzile in this hand. I believe there is 1 Evolution Incense, so that could grab 1. And like you say, when there's 1 Drizzile, there's a ton.
All right, goes for a Quick Ball. Discards the Galarian Zigzag Goon, going to go back in.
Yeah,
This could be the Drizzile.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine what the grab could possibly be. We'll be forced to grab
Yeah,
any
because
basic.
we go for the Drizzile.
Well, it has to grab a basic
Oh
with
yeah,
Quick
that's
Ball.
right. Quick Ball's a basic. Because we don't want to go for the evolution yet. We have to go for Keep Calling. That's a giveaway.
So an interesting card here in this deck that Simon plays is that Tapu Koko, which is in the deck not really to attack. It doesn't have an attack that draws you a few cards, but more importantly, it is just a free retreater that can be searched out with Quick Ball. And especially when you're playing a lot of these switch in and out cards like Bird Keeper and Scoop Up Net, and you're trying to promote a Pokemon pretty constantly every turn when your Pokemon are getting knocked out. Having your free retreater kind of completes the missing piece that this deck has of needing to utilize Scoop Up Net every turn to pivot in and out most of the time, as we are going to see. It looks like they keep calling, and this is where Simon prizing 2 Sobble is a big deal. You utilize Keep Calling to grab 1, but at the same time, the Sobble most likely going to get knocked out, and you're going to be left with just 1 in play.
So Simon, at the very least, getting a bit of a setup here. The bare bones of the Sobble engine, some sort of foundation set up, but James is playing a deck that's absolutely barbaric when it comes to these damage numbers. Simon's playing something with a lot of utility, a lot of things to pivot into, a lot of different options, and it's been such an intricate deck to see in action so far. But James is set up. This Charizard has 4 energy on it. Arceus V-Star is also an attacker. This Sobble is about to go down, and hopefully Simon can pull a page out of the Rapid Strike Malamar book and just buy so much time by offering up one single prize Pokemon after another.
Well, it's going to be hard to buy some time when your opponent is finding every supporter they need with Luminion. Boss's orders grabbed, still has the attachment for turn. James is well aware that 2 of those Arceus V-Star are currently residing in the prize cards. Energy attachment on the Arceus can set up for another attacker, 2-prize attacker, and there is the Echoing Horn, can bring the Zapdos back into the discard pile, onto the bench. And yeah, Simon understands that there is practically no way to come back from James being at 4 prize cards already with no damage on the side. A very convincing game number 1 there for James.
Yeah, the Echoing Horn was picked up right away. You knew you wanted to double down on that V. Make the prize map work for you. Don't have your game plan delayed by single prize Pokemon. Just feast on the one that's worth the most prizes. And so I love the quick concede. We talked about how sometimes it's correct to play to your outs or a couple more turns, but Simon knows this one is not good. I didn't get my setup. The Charizard was way too fast, and we're going to go to game 2.
Yeah, as we're looking closer through the list here for Simon, I want to point out a few key cards that I noticed that are a little bit different from the list that Stefan played recently. Is opting to play Metacham V, a card that we see more so when this deck is paired with Rapid Strike Urshifu as an attacker or a way to deal damage and set up for Yoga Loop. And a little off the top of my head, it seems a little bit hard to get Yoga Loop, but when you have things like the quick shooting Inteleon to set up math, Yoga Loop is one of the best attacks if you can pull it off. Taking an extra turn is by far the most powerful effect in the Pokemon trading card game. Being able to do everything you do on your turn, again, knocking out Pokemon, attacking, playing supporters, getting energy into play. Taking another turn, there's nothing that really beats that.
Exactly, and this is also, you get to do it right back to back. Your opponent can't even respond. They just have to send something else up into the active, and you just get to double dip on those prizes. If your opponent suddenly thinks they have 1 or 2 more turns to make a comeback or get a setup, that Yoga Loop can come down.
Wow, look at these prizes for James. Prize 2 Arceus, a Charizard, and 2 Double Turbo is luckily playing the 4 copies. Nothing too crazy for Simon. Does have access, or rather, did prize a few copies of Level Ball, but
James also starting off with the Crobat V. Very clunky start. We're going to need to get a switch to get this out of the active, and this might give Simon enough time to finally see the setup that he wants.
Yeah, doesn't quite need to switch just this turn. Does have it in hand for the following, but the big miss I see right off the bat is there is no energy in this hand, and with Crobat in the active, it means there's no other way to really dig through this deck besides another Crobat, but it feels pretty bad to just put a lot of these V Pokemon in play. Zapdos is going to have a field day when it comes to that.
The Crobat V is safe for now. You don't want to attack just yet, especially when you fortunately did find the 3rd Arceus V, and we're still trying to get our setup going. Early attacks on the 1 prize Sobble isn't going to matter too much. So James, I think, is a little bit happy here to just take their time. He's going to be taking his time, getting his setup, and then just come roaring out of the gates. As soon as this Crobat V goes down, potentially, there's just going to be 1 or 2 massively accelerated attackers already set up behind it.
Yeah, Simon's deck kind of struggles to take prizes a lot in the early game. You're setting up your Drizzles to pretty much put together these combo pieces. The Zapdos Raihan plays, the quick shooting Medicham Loop plays, Math with Hoopa and Galarian Moltres V, and of course, at the end of the game, the best late game attacker in the format, the Galarian Moltres Malevolent Charge and Fiery Wrath being a solid attack. But having the Crobat start right away means that the Zapdos with the third V in play is essentially attacking for a single fighting energy, and Crobat is weak to fighting, so it will fall to an attack from this Zapdos. Does have the fighting right away off of the Energy Surge. Quick Ball to grab the Zapdos. And it looks like we have the scoop up net in hand already here for Simon. We could be seeing 2 prizes right away.
Here's the scoop up net. Salva goes back, gets re-benched. Galarian Zapdos V now in the active spot. Fighting Instinct is now active. We can attack and take 2 prizes. The Zapdos was so frightening at the start of game 1, but just missed the timing of being able to do anything before it got KO'd. Now it's starting to really strut its stuff. With 2 Pokemon V in play, Galarian Zapdos V is now putting James under pressure. If you put another Pokemon V down, I don't need to attach an energy. I still have my my Strong Legs kick, and now, if you don't bench a Pokemon V, I could just naturally attach another energy, perhaps.
Yeah, you said it right. Doesn't even matter if another V comes down for James, because another attachment will just do what's needed. And you can see that James is just debating, do I even V-Star this Pokemon? I think I need to utilize Trinity Charge to stay in this game. Otherwise, I have just no options to find it. Does find the one of 2 remaining double Turbo Energy that are available in the deck. Finds the Arceus V, has Ultra Ball as well to potentially grab another Arceus to utilize Starbirth later on. You want to have access to that ability. It's one of the best in the game.
Discarding of Fire Energy, and the second Ultra Ball has to go digging, but this is a lot of pressure. This is... Normally, you don't see Galarian Zapdos V put this much pressure on so early, but the reason that this pressure exists is why so many Arceus decks these days are running that Dunsparce, trying to get rid of that weakness. But at the very least, we get the Trinity Charge, get the 3 energies onto the Charizard V Max, so once this Arceus goes down, maybe Charizard V Max can hard carry.
Yeah, it seems that James' plan in this matchup is to power up a Charizard. It deals plenty of damage with Claw Slash, and then G-Max Wildfire is a great way to close out some of the bigger targets, and it's also going to force Simon to maybe make a little bit more of an awkward play. As you see, Simon's maybe not too used to playing up against this card. It is not a very common top meta deck, but it has come into the spotlight a lot more with Arceus, and anytime we see a Charizard deck do well, it's great. It's great to watch Charizard do well. It's a fan favorite. Nothing can go wrong when you're rocking out with Charizard.
You said it, Ethan. Charizard is the people's champion. Everybody loves this card, and now I'm really glad to see that James is, you know, letting it put in work, thanks to the enablement of Arceus V, of course. And before Simon takes this attack, is just assessing the resources in Game 2 and Game 3. You've got to play clean, because Simon has to win back-to-back now.
Yeah, it looks like found the level ball off of the prize card, so does not have to play that Evolution Incense in hand. Can grab the Drizzile, Shady Dealings to grab any trainer out of the deck, and it looks like eyeing up the Echoing Horn. This is a very smart play. It means that Simon doesn't have to worry about an energy attachment for turn. You put the Crobat back into play. From there, it's not anything that will threaten attacks down the line. It will sit on the bench and provide 1 less colorless for your Zapdos. And from there, it seems like the route is pretty clear that Simon can play the Echoing Horn now, take a knockout onto the Arceus, and then at any point down the line, take a knockout on the Crobat. Even with something like the Galarian Moltres, you could wait the entire game and then just go Galarian Moltres, Malevolent Charge, Boss's Orders. It seems like the prize mapping is very clear for Simon.
There's even a second Galarian Moltres here, so if one of them happens to go down, you still have that extra option. It's looking really good for Simon here. 2 more prizes taken down by the Thunderous Kick.
Yeah, and great prizes there. Has the level ball and the Bird Keeper to draw some more cards and maybe pivot into a better Pokemon. But here is the Charizard VMAX, 5 energy and a Marnie.
Energy. The forbidden attachment has finally happened. This is what we talked about. We thought that maybe double turbo would be needed to achieve this number, but with 3 from the Arceus V before it went down, and now just 2 natural energy attachments, we have access to that G-Max Wildfire.
Yeah, if you're James, you're in a very awkward spot in this position. It's very clear that Simon wants to target that Crobat down. By playing down another V Pokemon, you then just make it so easy for Zapdos to come back and be able to take a knockout. But there it is, G-Max Wildfire. First time we're seeing it here in New Jersey Regionals on stream. 300 damage, more than enough to take the knockout onto that Galarian Zapdos V. James will take some prizes, but at this point, I think it's just too little too late.
All you need to do is pivot into one more thing. We've got that Crobat V on the bench. Looking at the escape rope, looking through the deck with this quick ball, figuring out what you want to pivot to. And what is Simon's best play from this position? What's he looking to do?
Well, one thing to note out is Charizard is a fire type weak to water. Inteleon does have a very solid attack in Aqua Bullet. With weakness, deals a very strong 240 damage and deals some damage to the Crobat. And more so, this forces James to deal with this Inteleon. Otherwise, it will just continue to hit for massive, massive damage. And we are just going to see the Sobble get grabbed, but not only are you getting some more trainer cards, but you have an attack online. Haven't even played a supporter card yet, so we could either see cards drawn, the Zapdos brought back. The options here are limitless for Simon.
And there it is. Has the Shady Dealings Inteleon, as you mentioned, Ethan, and now just needs to attach one more energy for the Aqua Bullet.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the grab is off of this, seeing what supporters are left. There is still the Pal Pad to maybe bring back some more. As we're getting a quick fan through the deck. Raihan is still available. Boss's Orders, Clara. I think Clara is a very solid grab at this point. Cynthia as well just filled the hand up. The only way this deck really plays cards to recover is in Clara. It's not usually needed to go for a super heavy attack when it comes to powering up a Galarian Moltres and playing Boss. It can usually just attack with Galarian Moltres and whatever's in the active, or utilize it turns before in preparation. It is a card that has fit so well in this archetype. In the Urshifu deck, in the Darkness type deck, it does the same purpose. It's there because Galarian Moltres becomes so easy to utilize. If you just get it in the discard pile at one point, you attack with your attackers, the energy is going to be discarded as those Pokemon are knocked out. You bring it all back, and you just attack with Moltres to deal a lot of damage. But Cynthia looks like the grab, and Level Ball as well will grab yet another Sobble. Really values the consistency of Shady Dealing Engine. It's gotten Simon to 5-1-1, and it's looking very good to force a Game 3 here.
Having a deck like this that's basically designed to get comeback victories shows that Simon is very confident, right? You're letting your opponent set up, letting your opponent get off a few attacks, and then swinging back at them, using that momentum to your advantage is, honestly, I'm glad that we're here to see it.
Yeah, an interesting interaction we're going to see is the Magma Basin damage will start to become a little bit more relevant because this Charizard can attack, pending this Magma Basin stays in play, but with the Aqua Bullet, it will go to 270 damage, plus the Magma Basin damage, bringing it to 290, and then it is just 40 damage away from being knocked out, so things can get a little tricky. There's plenty of cards in Simon's deck that can do 40 damage to be able to knock this Pokemon out.
And finally, after everything has been set up on the bench, after looking at both players' discard piles, we have the Aqua Bullet finally going through with a little bit of extra damage going onto that Crobat V. And now, with the turn going back over to James, this Charizard VMAX, which looked so gargantuan before, is on its last legs.
Yeah, I think just debating if there is even a line to win this game. You do have Echoing Horn down the line, but at that point, it just feels like, I mean, you take this knockout, but there is no way for you to win the game the following turn. No 3 prize basic Pokemon. We haven't had tag teams in a while, so there's no way we're going to see something like that close the game out.
And this is what Simon's trying to do. You have some clutch, high damage, 1 or 2 prize attackers, and once your opponent is set on the back foot, you have the ability to splash out a lot of damage with the Aqua Bullet, with the Galarian Zigzagoon, and then clean up whatever prizes you deem necessary.
We will see the Luminion V come down. Luminous Sign going to grab Marnie out of the deck, grabbing any supporter card that James chooses. I think the only strategy is to play Blarney and pray, but your opponent has 2 Sobble in play, plus Tapu Koko to retreat as well. Has not played any Boss's Orders, so there are a lot of lines in play. And I think James understands if you have Zapdos, you have Zapdos at this point. There's nothing I can really do. So I'm just going to bench some V Pokemon, try to put something together for the late game. Hope you don't have Boss's Orders for 3 to 4 turns or 2 to 3 turns. And we're just going to see this deck do what it does best, draw through the deck, find some cards, and we'll most certainly be seeing the Marnie get played.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, trying to calculate that line, trying to see if it is viable. Goes for Evolution Incense, thinning out the deck before you go for the Marnie. You're trying to just make sure Simon does not have the resources to close out with 2 prizes remaining. Simon is just a stone's throw of taking game number 2 and taking this to game 3 with plenty of time to spare, no doubt.
Yeah, we've got lots of time on the clock, so it is very doable. There's the Marnie getting played. Player shuffling, putting their hands on the bottom of their deck. We've seen this card be played time and time again. Great disruption tool and a great draw tool at the same time. What makes this card great? Not much, however, going on there for James. has the energy attachment, has the magma basin, but yeah, there's not enough there to close the game out. No route that I see, and James agrees, no route that he sees. We're going into game 3, plenty of time on the clock, and it's kind of been two polarizing back and forth matchups. We saw James dominate game 1, able to really punish that Zapdos start, knock it out, Echoing Horn, knock it out again, and from that point, there was no way for Simon to come back, and then Simon really taking advantage of that turn 1 energy miss on James's side, says, hey, my Zapdos can come in and clean, and you don't even have a way to respond to it. You don't even have a way to knock it out, and it just got so much value, too much value, and it allowed Simon to win that game. We're going to game number 3.
Galarian Zapdos V. Getting that accelerated attack is so potent because, you know, with Mew VMAX being such a big part of the metagame, so many Pokemon V just being flooded onto the bench, it comes down with just that one attachment, and that's just the name of the game for Simon's deck, is big attacks for cheap energy, seemingly coming out of nowhere, coming from behind, but if your opponent gets too far ahead, then your deck can't make those comeback victories. It's a little bit too much to handle. And I think that after seeing truly what Simon's list is capable of doing in Game 2, James is hoping for a repeat of Game 1.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to be able to start things off again. James will be electing to go first. Sometimes this Rapid Strike, your opponent's deck, Simon's deck, that Rapid Strike, Sobbles, to be able to grab that out, turn 1 with Keep Calling is one of the best attacks in that deck. But if you're James, you understand that no matter what my opponent can do on turn 2, I need to get Trinity Nova off as quickly as possible. I need to get my Charizards powered up, and that seems to be the choice. James is going to kick things off as we get into these opening hands. From what I see, has what you need. Not much of a follow-up, but you have the Arceus turn 1 with an energy attachment lined up. You've got top decks, you've got cards to work with. As we'll get these prize cards laid out, see what important cards are unavailable for this game. 2 Magma Basin. Raihan being prized there for Simon is a little bit of a big deal. Does still play 2 in the deck. A Sobble has been prized every single game of this set. 2 1-1 in the last 3 games as we're getting things kicked off right away. Solid top deck there, and Marnie is going to give a lot of options for James the following turn, but there you go. Energy down on Arceus, Charizard in play, threatening Trinity Nova, and Starbirth to grab the pieces next turn. As action is on, oh no, there is nothing in hand here for Simon. Has the boss's orders to potentially stall, but there's a Moltres that can accelerate no energy onto it, cannot even use Malevolent Charge. You can put it in play just to have the Pokemon there, but what else do you do in this position?
There is nothing to do. The second fighting energy in the deck is in hand. If Simon is forced to discard this before being able to look through the deck and realize the second one is prized, then suddenly Zapdos V might not be as explosive as he needs it to be.
And just to pass over, already has to switch in hand, another Arceus and a Marnie to follow things up. It feels so poor when you're going to be Marning your opponent out of a pretty poor start, but with how explosive things are looking right away, it will actually decide to not play the Marnie, and this is a very smart play from James. I think this is the route that we're going to see, especially with the energy onto the Arceus. It's pretty much saying, hey, I understand your hand is not very good. You could have played a supporter, you could have grabbed any Pokemon out of your deck. My Arceus can still deal 130 damage with a few energy on it. That's more than enough to knock out these basic 1 prize Pokemon. I can also start to power up my Charizard a little bit, even the other Arceus, spreading the energies around, 1 to each Pokemon in play, and Simon is on a clock even more than before.
I love spreading around the energies. Like 90% of the time with Arceus V, you see the 3 energies go onto 1 Pokemon because you're setting up that attack. But as you said, Ethan, Power Edge still plenty strong to deal with most anything that Simon can put up. And recognizing once again that that was a bricked hand and holding the Marnie.
Oh, just an energy search as the top deck. Can't even attack with this Hoopa because Assault Gate only works if it's on the bench. You can at least get a card out of the deck you don't want to draw into in basic energy, but at this point you're doing what? No damage this turn. You have no more Pokemon to put into play. None of these lines can get started to get put into play to evolve, to get these pieces, and it just feels like Simon in such a crucial match to win to try to secure a spot in day 2. The deck is just failing him, unfortunately.
This is the dark side of running a deck with so much utility, so many tools, so much flexibility, is that you can't hit the cards that you want when you need them. And now Hoopa stranded, Galarian Moltres stranded.
Yeah, there's not much to do with this hand. You can commit the energy to the Hoopa and play another something like another escape rope to force a Pokemon into the active that doesn't want to attack, and James is gonna not like this too much. You can get the Arceus into play. There's a lot of live top decks that make something work. You can at least get the Galarian Moltres into the active to preserve this Hoopa. You'd rather have that stay on the board than the Moltres. We're going to see the energy get committed, and that's it. There's the pass over. What's the top deck? Big top deck there. Finds the Ultra Ball that can guarantee the Arceus V-Star and get the pieces that James needs to get this attack off without having to play Marnie.
Goes for the Arceus V-Star. Going to take a look through the deck, see what's prized. There is the evolution into the Starbirth. Going to pick up 2 more cards. We can find the double turbo here. We can find another attacker to accelerate into, get that Charizard VMAX by chance. It's looking great here for James in game number 3.
Yeah, eyeing up the double turbo right away. Pretty clear grab. Research as well. Does have boss's orders in hand. May want to save that for a little later. You could grab something like the bosses. I mean, there's not a lot of grabs, but I like grabbing the double turbo. Believe grab the research. I was thinking Crobat potentially to draw some more cards, but it's just a fighting weak Pokemon that Zapdos preys on in a rare scenario where James somehow lets go of the gas and loses control of this game. And we are going to see the research drawing through the deck. 7 fresh new cards. Plays plenty of boss's orders. Believes that there's the potential to draw into some more. The Choice Belt has some quick balls. Crobat to draw some more cards following turns. Looking excellent. James is in the driver's seat, commanding this game. Will be able to take the knockout on the Moltres. And, I mean, Simon can play Kalara the following turn to delay the inevitable by a single turn. Really needs a top deck, though. Cannot stress that enough. There's a knockout. Trinity Nova going to get even more energy in play. Pretty much fully powering up this Charizard. And this is going to be a big swing of momentum. Going down to 5 prize cards, but more importantly, leaving Simon with just a single Pokemon in play in that Hoopa.
It's going to be attack after attack after attack for James. And Simon's list is designed to go up against things that are just a little bit slower. Something that is, as we saw, weak to the Zapdos. You can get a lot of mileage out of the Galarian Zapdos V, but once you whiff on that main attacker, the thing that gives you so much pressure for your early game, Simon is really struggling to put something together. Sobble, as we know, that search engine can make miracles happen, but this is just one Sobble hitting the bench. If James really wants to, we could see a boss onto that target before it gets a chance to evolve.
Yeah, Sobble will be benched here off the top of the deck. Has the attachment actually going to go ahead and commit it to the Hoopa and a pass. And this is where the gates open for James again to try and play something like a boss's orders to target down the Sobble, to limit the draw for Simon, prevent that keep calling attack from being used. This deck is fine losing the early game. It can take prizes later on. James understands that there is still a possibility to lose this game, wants to secure every possible route to shut that plan down.
I've said before that Simon's list is based around coming from behind, but there's Lumineon into the boss's orders, taking out the Sobble, so there's no way to get that draw engine up off of the ground, and it is closed out.
Yeah, James is going to go ahead and take that series 2-1 as we get into round 8 concluding. What a great match there from both these players. Seeing Charizard VMAX in action, I know those were some very polarizing games. Game 1 was all in favor of James, and then Simon took control in game 2, not much going on, or rather was just able to put on a lot of pressure really quickly, and then game 3 was just one of those unfortunate games where we built up to the climax, right? You want to see both of these decks in action, and unfortunately for Simon, just was not in the cards, unable to really find anything with those pieces at the start of the game and throughout a few top decks as well, nothing to bail out. But James is going to go ahead and advance to 6-1-1, securing a spot in day 2 with another match to play, so possibly the chance to get in at 7-1-1. You gotta be feeling great, and you're in an excellent spot.
Yeah, I mean, that set, honestly, was just the culmination of everything we talked about, Ethan, where you have a deck that wants to be very flexible because the metagame is very wide open, kind of tapping into a little bit of that energy from the EUIC Champions deck, right, having a lot of options available, but then that bleeds over into the consistency factor of even if you are a very strong player, again, 5-1-1, very respectable going into this round 8, but sometimes that variance hits, and for the Pokemon TCG, you know, that can make or break when you are just barely on the line.
Yeah, Simon's deck is not a super inconsistent deck. It doesn't need a lot to function, just to keep calling to start things off, and then the Drizzles come. But the fact that there was no Sobble whatsoever until the second to last turn of the game, it just means that your engine to just continuously utilize Scoop Up Net over and over while building up these Inteleons. If you can't have your main engine, you're not really drawing cards, you're not really finding your Pokemon. Things just kind of fall to the wayside, but a great match from both these players. We got to see both of these decks for the first time on stream today, and the fact that there's so many different archetypes, so many different variants, the fact that Arceus can be paired with anything in the format, it's just exciting to watch, not just as a commentator, but as a spectator of Pokemon.
Yeah, when the Charizard seeing play, you know that the format is fun. You know that it's good. When Arceus enables everybody to confidently build around their favorite Pokemon, everybody's having a blast. And even as we head through the Swiss rounds, the pressure is getting to the players, the fatigue is getting to these players, but you can tell that they're still just enjoying being here at this event and being in the moment.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about. I want to hear from James after that round 8 win. We're going to have a winner's interview